Okay, everyone. You heard me read Autumn's email, and it was a little bit of a trick on my part. I'm like, send me in an email, but I actually have a lot of other things I want to talk to her about. This is the person that you all heard me say I was going to Utah, and I went to Utah to do readings, and this was her location, the rabbit hole. This is wellness. But the rabbit hole. Let's just face it, we're going down the rabbit hole with her. This is Autumn. Hi, Autumn.
Hi, 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 hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Ooh, I got like chills as soon as she said hi. She has that kind of energy, so it's kind of nice.
Nice.
Okay, so first we're going to start with the paranormal stuff, and then we're going to get into what you guys heard me talk about her. She does things in the same way as me, different. You know how it is. All us readers, healers, seers have different ways we do things, and she uses the work of the medicine, and she's going to talk about that. I know a lot of you are interested. I've talked to you about that, but I'm going to quiz her on that first. We're going to get into her like a little paranormal, maybe witchy
I don't
with your.
know.
I know, so we're going to break it down. Okay, so I have questions. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so first of all, we're talking my favorite thing, which was your daughter, because children, let's face it, they're already straight off the baking line. They just came from the bakers and they're like here. So they're still so attached. And she has you as a mom, so that's just double. Um, so she's like wanting to play music and she wanted you to play the Alexa. How old was she? She was around 3 or 4. Okay, that was my question. So she was really young. So she was just mimicking mommy a little
Well,
bit.
she loves to play. They love to play music. Even to this day that they do this where they get to pick a song and they tell Alexa to play it and then they trade off. And the other one was still too little.
Right.
He wasn't getting that yet. But she would like tell Alexa to play songs all the time in the morning. We're getting ready for breakfast and she would yell at Alexa, Alexa, play this song, play the gummy bear song, play this song.
Ah,
and and we love music and we're always dancing and playing music at this house. So it's a thing, right? And so yeah, she would always do that. And that particular day, um, we had kind of unplugged Alexa. Like Alexa was unplugged for whatever reason. And so
okay.
she saw the other speaker.
Okay. That was my question. So I wanted to be very clear. I wanted to be very clear. So you're like, Alexa, go away. And so she's like, well, if this speaker talks to me, maybe this other speaker. So what was this other speaker?
It's just a random little speaker. It's kind of like this. It's not this one. It's an older one, but it's just a little speaker like
For you
this.
guys listening, she's just showing me kind of like a pill, those pill like shaped speakers. Okay.
Yes. It was just one of those. It was one that I would take back and forth to my yoga classes at the rec center. And so it hooked to my phone. That's how it played. You had to turn it on. You had to connect to the Bluetooth and then open your music player and then it would play through there. But she kind of it was just she was in this really playful energy too. I remember like me and dad were in the kitchen and we're like probably talking adult stuff and she's just running around the house like a 3 and 4 year old, like just bobbing around. And she just kind of like walked in, looked at the speaker, told it what to do, and it did it. And I remember like we just like paused and I was like, did you just see that? And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just saw that. And it was just like this weird moment where we were like, I guess anything's possible. And I'm used to weird things happening, like
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
bet.
you
Sure.
know, alien encounters, all the things. But this one got me because it was like
So
she
wait a minute.
moved.
Wait. We have to pause and back up. Wait a minute. So this one got to you more than your alien
Yes,
encounters?
absolutely. Because it's like the alien encounter, like, of course, something else exists. But we talk about,
I love
you hear about and you talk about all the time, like, "Oh, what if we used all of our brain?" Like,
Okay,
could we
telekinesis type of
yes.
thing.
Could we move objects? Could we make objects do things that they don't innately do? And so this was one that really got me because, she didn't know that it couldn't do that. And in her
Yeah.
reality, it could, and it did. And it was playing the exact song she asked for, and it wasn't on any of our devices. Like, it wasn't
It was
like
that's what I was gonna say. So, because I know you are both magical, healer, all that, but you're also very practical. That's what people gotta
I'm
understand.
pretty
That's
skeptical in
that's what
general.
I
Like,
love about Autumn. She's similar to me, where we're like playing in these fields, but we're like, I don't know, especially because it's a mundane thing. So you're like, what's up with that? It's like you said, it's almost easier to go, oh, my sightseeing stuff, right? Than like,
mhm,
did I just watch what I watched happen in a mundane world? Right. The
yes.
telekinesis type
Well, with my kid who has
mhm, concept.
there's no concept there, and it was just like, wow. And Bluebird, of course, that's a significant song to us.
Hmm.
Well, that song we love, my mom, would always play it for us. Like, when she comes and stays with the kids, she loves Miranda Lambert, and so she'll play that song a lot. So it caught on to us. But Bluebird specifically is like the bird that always shows up when me and my husband are together in nature, or going and doing something together. It's like that bluebirds find us, and
Well, I
that's
have
been
something to tell you about that, but I'll save
oh,
it.
yay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the it was obviously significant. Like we knew it was like a message. It felt like a message
Mhm.
almost,
Mhm.
um, of like, there was obviously, like, in that moment, me and him were both just like, "Yep, of course that would happen," but at the same time, how did it happen? Like, was she communicating with some kind of other energy that was able to, like, I don't know. What was she doing? How did
Oh,
it
well, I'm
happen?
gonna tell you, but I have a couple 2 questions because this is
Like,
what I
what
like to
was
ask.
it?
I like to ask questions that I know everyone at home is thinking because I know how people think.
Mm,
So, when you said that, when you said you unplugged the Alexa, were you looking at the Alexa and going, "This is unplugged," so we know it's not coming from that speaker, correct?
mhm,
Okay. Second, you're looking at your phone and it's not playing off your phone, correct?
mm-mm, mm-mm.
And you're not sure where the music like is actually channeling through this speaker. And the last
No.
question for those of you who are not familiar, and I think I'm not as familiar, the song Bluebird, do you know what the lyrics are?
Yeah, it's like a country song, actually.
That's
It's
what I
kind of like
thought. Okay.
it's, um gosh, I don't know, I'd have to pull up the lyrics, but it's just, it's a fun country song from the perspective of a woman,
Okay.
like, and,
Mhm.
um, it's I think it has notes of, like, "Nothing's gonna get me down," kind of energy.
Okay. 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 All right. So let's and then lastly, what do you mean by alien encounters?
Ooh,
Do you mean interdimensional or do you have you seen for people who don't know, have you
you
seen them
know,
like
so
tangibly?
the one of the tribes that I work with, they are the Kumquat Nation of, Punta Chueca. They're known as the Seri Indians,
Okay.
and, they believe in aliens, and most of them have aliens tattooed all over their bodies.
Mm,
They believe that we are all giants, that
okay.
giants came here to vacation. It's like a water planet.
Okay.
Giants came here to vacation, and they got stranded, and so then they laid
Oh.
down and made the earth, and that we all came from their energy. And so we're not home. That's, they say, like, "Oh, this isn't our home." And so they believe in, like, what how you talk about it is really
Mhm.
resonant with how they talk about it. Like, yeah, there's so many different people, there's so many different
Yeah.
aliens. There's
Yeah.
all, like, yeah, everything's an alien out there, like they
Yeah.
just they kind of like consider it like, well, duh.
Yeah.
And so
That's what I think. Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's like it's not just one, it's just
like
as
all the
many as
animals, all the insects, all the
Mhm.
yeah, of course. And
Mhm.
so, uh, out there, I've had some really weird experiences. There was one that almost made the list that I was like, "Ooh."
Well, we have to hear it now, Autumn. I mean, I know everyone's, like, straining, like, "Yes?"
Well,
This is people's
so
favorite topic.
the island that we go to, Shark
Mhm.
Island, it's the largest island in Mexico, Isla de Tiburon. It's uninhibited. So there's a little
Mm.
tiny, tiny military base from the Mexican government there. And other than that, it's indigenous territory, and you have to have a permit to hunt. I mean, you can't just go out there.
Okay.
And um, out there, we go to the caves and we do like cave sits with medicine. Their
Oh, wow.
traditional vision quest is 8 days, and it's fasting, it's that kind of stuff. So out in these caves, there's nothing, there's nobody. Um, you might be one of 5 or 6 people on the island.
Okay.
So they actually did an episode of Survivor out there. I think they did a
Oh,
Shark
okay.
Island Survivor edition or something like that. Naked and Afraid. I don't know. Don't quote me, but
Okay.
it's pretty rugged terrain. It's the Sonoran Desert. So
Mhm.
we're in these caves, and it's happened several times where these like spaceships, they kind of look like drones
Okay.
but bigger,
Right.
and they just come and watch us while we're in the cave, and they move with us, you know
Oh,
and
wow.
and that's really interesting. And they come out at night, and you're in a cave on an uninhibited island, on the backside of a mountain, with nothing in sight. And then there's just these like they're just obviously watching.
Yeah, that's
And so,
cool.
I've had some other experiences on the beach where these beings communicate more
Telepathic.
telepathically to me. Yeah.
Mhm.
And one of the interesting times, it's kind of it was this like number two on my list, and it goes along with this other story with the speaker because it's very, very similar, I guess. But I was sitting on the beach. I was on a very minute amount of medicine, so not the kind of medicine that like I would have illusions or like
Right.
more psychedelic experiences. I
Mhm.
had like some cacao, some CBD,
Mhm.
um, very light, and we're hanging out on the beach, me and my two friends. And this was after a long day, and we're just kind of like chilling with no intentions. And there's two parties going on. This is like the local beach party town. So everyone on the weekends comes here and throws their parties. And on the beach, there's one house that's playing like newer, like young, youthful, like dance music, maybe some
Yeah.
like techno, some,
Right. EDM.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you can tell it's the younger people. And then on the
Right.
other side, you can really hear it's like all that old school, that funk, like
Mhm.
is coming in. And I had like one ear was like hearing this youth, and then one ear was hearing, and then these these objects kind of come in the sky again, and they watch.
Oh,
And
wow.
one of these objects kind of came, and when it came in front of me, what I could hear, like, I was like, wow, I had said something like, wow, it would be really cool if these two parties became one party. That would be like the perfect music.
Right.
Um, and there was like this communication of like, well, you can do that.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, then I started to like hear both of the musics and bring them in. And when I did that, the I got the DJs synced up with that,
Mhm.
consciously or unconsciously, I don't know. But the youthful group started to play the stuff that they were playing, and vice versa. And so it actually like
Oh,
it was
wow.
here, but then I actually something shifted in the way that the DJs were playing. It was like this conversation was heard, and they were channeling music, and they caught the memo somehow. And
Mhm.
the music started to blend, and like
Mhm.
what was two separate parties became one party in the
Wow.
music.
Yeah. That's
And so
so significant.
yeah, so that one I was like, okay, this is really weird because it was it was literally like in that moment I felt like I was a puppeteer, like, ooh, let's turn the volume down here and turn
Yeah.
the and you stop playing that and play some of this, and you stop playing that and play some of this.
Right.
And it was just, but it was instantaneous, right? It wasn't even like that thought process had time to exist. It was more like this happened in a flash of a moment of this object.
Mm-hmm.
this thought, this, you know, oh, this would be cool. And then it was like, well, you can do that. Let me just show you how.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I know what that is too. Okay. That's awesome. I believe that. I know what you're talking about. I know it sounds like it could sound almost
It sounds
like
kind of
ex-
crazy.
exa- it's not crazy. It just
Well,
it's
and I
long
had
as
two friends. If I'd have been there alone, I might not have told you the story. But the friends were with me,
they were
and I was like,
witnessing
"Do
it.
you hear
Yeah.
this?" And they were like, "Yeah,
Right. It helps to have people, but sometimes I've even had things happen in front of people and people still have a hard time. But
yeah."
you're around people
Sometimes,
accepting. But as long as you're always going like, what was that to me? Then you're good, because when you're always checking in with yourself, it's when you're like, I know for sure that's what it is. That could get a little scary, because we're
yeah,
always going to be a little bit like, like you said, a healthy skepticism about
yeah,
even yourself.
yeah.
But
Questions are
I
good.
questions are good. Yes. Yes, you see why I love her? That's what I always say. Questions are good. I would say to people, ask the questions. Okay. So let's put a little mood music to it. Just a little
Ooh,
light mood music. Okay, so
I know
my
something's coming.
here it comes, everyone. Um what, what I feel is, ooh, I get chills. I very much feel what happened was very telekinesis. And it's kind of
Mm,
interesting because when everyone's listening to this, if you haven't listened to the week before this episode that you're hearing right now, that one was about telekinesis too. So there's it's
oh,
kind of like something
interesting.
happening. Yeah. So I feel what she did was it's like telekinesis and working with the spirit realm, basically. It's a little combo. Um and I would dare say it goes past the vision I get, the spirit realm, and more into the higher beings, the beings that you were just talking about. That's what they tend to do. It's very easy for them. It's not as easy as people who died, like spirits, but it is easy for beings that are not human to do things like that. So for
Mm,
them, it's kind of like a little bit of a game, a little bit of a show off type of thing. Like, let's show you what we can do with you, and to grab your attention, to kind of help us see what we're capable of, basically. And what better way through a child, right, who
mm,
believes I'm looking at the speaker and I can make it do that if I want. So it's not like she did it alone. That was the feeling I got, like something
mm,
magical is happening, but connected to those beings. I call them higher beings. They're just, to me, like professors, alien ish type of beings, the ones you work with, the teachers, and all of that. And it was on purpose to kind of get you to kind of get over it and realize, yeah, we're working with you. It's happening. We're here. No problem. I've had these things happen. I've actually watched an iPad, it was before as an iPad, a notepad, just start clicking on its own. And this was back in the day before there were iPads. Now, I could think, like you, I was just sitting there by myself watching it click and open, like on articles on Facebook, of all places. Now, yes, I would. I know. I was like, really? Facebook? Okay, guys, I could really think it was like a hack or something like this, logically. However, it was clicking on stuff about aliens and the family, the Rutherford family, and their
mm.
connection to it. Is that right? The Rutherford, the famous rich family, wealthy family that's been around. And it was clicking on an article. So I clicked away and it went back and clicked it. And it was
Mm,
shaky because it wasn't like perfect. It was almost like something was trying to hold the vibration. So, like, it wasn't like when someone's hacking, they just take over. It was
mhm,
almost like watching the vibration trying to hold, and it was drawing my attention to all this alien stuff. And I watched it for like 3 minutes. Just click away, open up, make it bigger, zoom in, zoom out. So I know I really felt, and there's no, again, I felt a little crazy too. There's a way to prove it in a sense, but it was like, okay, so you're showing off what you can do, and you're kind of purposely trying to say, like, we hear you, we see you. So I feel like that's what was happening. With the other situation, which is connected, as you're right, that telepathic communication, which is what you were doing, 100,000%. You can throw thoughts to people and they'll pick up on it. If you just aren't really trying too hard, actually, it's when you try to do it, it doesn't work as well.
But yeah, I
Because you're,
was not trying too hard. I
yeah,
was just like, ooh, this would be cool.
right. It's exactly because, and also music is vibrational, and that's the way those types of beings like to work with music and colors and stuff, because it's all vibrational. So you were just kind of zoning into the vibration, into the energy, and you were just shooting these thoughts out there, going, why don't we all come together and just unite? And it's just like you sent out a text and they got it. That's how telepathic communication works between us. We could do it if we weren't so caught in our heads. And that realm works that way for sure. 100%. So I feel like it was a little more telepathic in that situation than telekinesis. You were
Mm.
telepathically sending out what you wanted them to hear, just
So,
not trying too hard at it, which is the best way, actually.
so what's the difference between like, how would you tell the difference between like telekinesis from a higher being and like a poltergeist that like makes something move? Or
Yeah, that's a good question. um, well, telekinesis from a higher being, they're going to be a little more precise.
okay,
You know what I mean?
the
And so,
sharpness of that
yeah,
situation.
exactly. So you see how they knew what she wanted, they played it. That's why I said they like to kind of show off. Like, look what we can do. We can like precisely do it. That's why I call them higher beings, because they're more experienced. They're like, this isn't a big deal for us. We can do this pretty easily. Where spirits don't have as great control. There's like tossing things around. They're kind of like, it takes a lot more energy for them to do it. It takes
Yeah.
a lot for them to move. That's why when people tell me something's flying around, I'm like, okay, so they're really going all out, and it's not easy for them to do that. Whereas higher beings, it's a lot easier for them. Like, even like I said, that pad, it was clicking and then I clicked away and it did it again. I'm like, this is not spirit activity.
Mm.
It's not how it feels or looks like. Where spirit activity will like go, okay, well, I want to get Autumn's attention. I know she's into eggs. I want her to get a message about eggs. So I'm going to take this picture of this egg and crash it, and maybe she'll get the idea that something is going to be cracking open for her. They're like very symbolic about it, because
Okay.
they can't, there are spiritual laws. They're not allowed to completely invade in this world 1,000%. There are those beings that are like, watch it, watch it. Well, the higher beings are going to be concise and to the point more. So like when that happened with the iPad, I was like, this is pretty concise and to the point. You want me to look at aliens? Okay, I got it. You want me to see that aliens have been around for a long time? Okay, I get it. It's concise and to the point. And I
Okay.
had a similar thing that I talked about recently in my podcast, where my son's airplane was by my bed and it scrambled, and I watched it, and it went to, how come you're not answering our radio contact? And then it scrambled again and went back to that same, how come you're not answering our radio, twice, till I said, I got it, thanks, and it stopped. It's very concise. Whereas spirits might just go beep, boop, beep, and the toy's going off, and you're like, oh my God, this toy's going off on its own. It's so weird. They're a little more like, we got your attention. Hi. Whereas those beings are like, did you get it? Got the message? Like scrambled all of the sayings that airplane says and went back to the same one. Get it? Got it? Okay, cool. That's how I know the difference.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Because
Cool.
they're just people who pass, so they're still kind of learning their abilities. So I feel like it's not surprising to me that you had those, because you work with that realm a lot.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Um,
You kind of live there a little bit.
yeah, me and my husband were talking about that just this morning of like, some people, a lot of people won't
Mm-hmm.
ever get a chance to play where we live every day. And and so it is kind of, it's interesting when something happens that does grab my attention and kind of is like, wait a minute, how did that work? What was
Mm-hmm.
actually happening there, Um,
Yeah.
especially because, a lot of the times I don't even question it. I'm just like, it doesn't matter. What was the message? I'm like you where I love to, that's why I resonate with you so much, is connecting the dots is really important to me. And it's
Yes.
like I can usually connect the dots and not worry about how it was going to get done. But there are these things that happen that, even stump me where I'm like, and I work with a lot of these more concise higher energies. So I don't really work in the realm where things
Yes.
fly around. I don't
Yes,
really do
I know.
that.
I was gonna say, and this is such a perfect. I love that you're saying this because I always try to say this to people. Whenever people are interested, I tell them, I go, listen, I know a lot of amazing healers and readers and seers who work with the higher beings, and they're like, I'm good because they're more respectful. That's what I'm trying to say. They're
Hmm.
concise, they're to the point, and they're more respectful. A lot of people don't want to deal with the spirit world because they're not. They're not reverent at all. They don't care if I'm tired. They don't care if I'm
No.
busy. That's why I have very specific rules working with them that they've learned to adhere to. But if you don't have specific rules for them, they're like, well, I don't know, fair game. You put $100 down in Times Square. It looks like I can grab it. That's how they see, like, if you're just opening up to that world with no
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
Where the higher
Well,
beings will teach you, like, hey, listen, you might want to learn how to do, like, they're trying to help take care of you. Big difference.
yes. So in my experience, the only time I really play there is
Mhm.
like if I have a client who does have someone who's passed
Mhm.
or has someone on the other side that is wanting to communicate. And I always make the joke, I don't advertise that I do that. I don't tell anybody that I do that because I don't want to unless it's absolute. So I guess my rule is I will play there if it's absolutely necessary for someone's healing. So just
Mhm.
recently I had a client whose father passed away in a home and she's, redoing it to Airbnb it. And I had to go there because it was a part of her healing, right?
Right.
So, and it just makes me laugh because that realm is very what I call clumsy. Like
Yes, they are.
it's a clumsy
They're
realm to work
way
in. And
yeah.
I always say like it's clown like I feel like a clown working when I do that kind of work because it's just like what's going to happen next? And
Yeah.
it's kind of
It
like
is until you can learn to, which is what I've tried to explain to people. I've learned how to master, or I'm mastering because I'm not 100% master, how I work with that realm because it
yeah,
can get, but it takes a lot of you holding the discipline.
yes.
And a lot of people don't want to do that. Like, I remember I used to go to this healer. She's like, Adele, I'm just not interested in that. Like, I like working with my beings that kind of take care of me and I take care of them. They like that. I go, yeah, that's what I was thinking. But this seems to be where I'm like, kind of like, all right, guys, it's a little, I always feel like I'm like, all right, I'm down. Let's go. I'm going to go down into the trenches. And
Yes.
right, and then I go to the beings who go like, now you guys got to clean me off and help me out because I was there, I was in there. And they're a rough crowd, they're a rough
Yes.
crowd, it's more rough
Well,
for sure.
the communication isn't as clear. So it does take more trust.
It takes more trust.
It
I
takes
had
more
to
like
right.
the higher
Mhm.
beings, it's like they exude trust. They exude reverence.
Right.
They take you
Hmm.
into their arms and are kind of like, "Hey, now that you're cradled, let's talk."
Yeah. No, this is
Sometimes.
not the spirit world
No.
at all.
And
But
yeah.
you can learn, but I have a fluidness with them where I get all of the things. I know how I work. They've trusted me now. I trust them because they have to trust you too. And so I
Yes.
have a fluidness, but that took years and years and years. But it's not as the other ones. You're absolutely right. See, Everybody, I've been saying this to people because I've tried to explain to people like these are the differences in the energies.
Hmm.
Speaking of which, I forgot to tell you the bluebird. I always get
Oh,
showed the bluebird is a little bit of a cross of both because the spirit world does like to use bluebirds too to send to people to let them know, yes, we are part of this too. It comes up a lot in
mm,
readings where people will always talk about the bluebird. There's something very significant about sending a bluebird, and I do think the spirit world operates with that as well. Just
yeah,
saying. So
yeah,
it could be both happening with you. More of the ancestral spirit realm
yeah.
kind of helping you guys out.
That's
So
cool.
speaking of the of what you work with, why don't you explain to people about your work and what you do?
Yeah. So, gosh, I do all kinds of things. I'm a nature based practitioner and I use mixed modality practices. So instead of like being a yoga teacher and doing yoga therapy, or being a therapist and doing talk therapy, or being, a medicine woman and doing medicine work, I kind of pull a lot of different practices together to work with individuals. And I would say the basis of our programs and what we do at Rabbit Hole is building um, pathways for people to be sovereign and to know their truth. I think the biggest thing in our collective right now is that most of us aren't given a chance to be who we really are until much
Mm-hmm.
later in life. And so um, I've seen a deep and profound healing by helping people just find their authentic divine truth and be able to stand in that. And then the other piece is we really develop self with other. Other teaches us so much about ourselves. And so the other component of what we do is um, attempting, because I won't say we've mastered it yet, but we're attempting to create community that um, allows space for sovereignty and healthy power dynamics. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times, people are like, I do great, and my life is together. My finances are great. Like my job is great, but there's just like, meh,
Something missing.
and
Yeah.
it's like a lot of people are missing community. And I think we don't think of community as like a pillar of health. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about the three pillars of health, diet, exercise, and sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's a fourth pillar, which is community, and maybe even a fifth pillar that's sovereignty. And so we do everything from retreats to private individual work. We sell health and wellness products and tools. We teach people about tribal and ancestral medicine. So instead of hopping on to do what's trendy, we're really looking towards spaces like Chacruna and other non-appropriative medicine to really honor um, the mysticism
Mm-hmm.
of where these tools come from, and really honor that the people that have preserved those wisdom through all the years, and they've been marginalized and prosecuted for doing so, that really that is where the true mysticism lies. And so in my experience, um, source, a lot of people in the wellness and mysticism world don't go to the source. They
Yes.
don't go to the land, they don't go to
Mm-hmm.
the people, they
Mm-hmm.
don't go to the plants. And so I would say, the third component is that source is really important to us. And so
Mm-hmm.
we are all about just giving people lots of options and letting them go down the rabbit hole that they want to, that they feel is going to be, you know, the most transformational thing at this time for their journey. And so that's just kind of a little bit, but everything's subject to change too, because what I always say is that I don't run the rabbit hole runs me. So
That's usually how it is.
yeah.
Yes, and I love the fact, and I want to emphasize because whenever people, talk about doing, what's popular, of course, as we both know, as ayahuasca or doing
Hmm.
DMT or any of those things, I always say to people, make sure you go to somebody who's either studied with the original people a lot, or they are in that family that has, that they honor the people who have worked with this, that they're very well versed. Don't just go to some place at someone's house that just like picked this up like 6 weeks ago or something, because it's not getting all of the essence of all of the wealth of knowledge and energy. It's not honoring where this all comes from.
Well, as you know, everything carries vibration.
Right.
And one of our dear friends, Tony, has this saying that he makes everybody, do before medicine. And I laugh because it's very indicative of what I've seen happen is if you play
Mm-hmm.
tricky games vibrationally with medicine, that medicine will play tricky games with you vibrationally, just like the spirit world, because these
Mm-hmm.
teachers are just that. These plant teachers are just like our spirit teachers and our master
Yes.
teachers. And the difference between them and, that spirit world or that higher power world that we're talking
Mm-hmm.
to is they live here. They're
Mm-hmm.
from here. So they have a lot of play here that those higher powers or that those spirit ancestors don't have. So medicine can come in and it can rearrange this physical realm in ways that, these higher powers can't perform telekinesis on, like it's
Yes. And she's talking about whenever people ask me about the elements that are the earthly realm elements that exist here, which I kind of
yeah,
feel are a little alienish as well, but just
true.
of the earth. They're of
Hmm.
the earth. And they trust me because I'm not so earthy. They'll always like show up like in insane ways that are very clearly connected to the earth. They will I recently, this was only like a year ago, that I heard a thump on my window, and I was like, what was that? And we look out and it's half a rabbit. And you have to realize we live in a townhomes that's like hundreds and hundreds of townhomes. We're not high up, we're on, normal floor, and it just landed in our porch. And I was like, okay, so a hawk just decided to visit me.
Yeah.
And this is the second time, Autumn. The first time was when I was living somewhere else and I was really angry. And I was like, okay, universe, I've done a lot of shit for you guys. I've been working in this realm for a long time. I'm tired. I'm upset. You better show me a sign, or I don't know what else I was going to do, but I was just like given an
Or
ultimatum, and
else.
yeah, or else I'm going to do something. I'm coming to your neighborhood. So I went to the backyard, and I used to smoke then, and I lit up a cigarette, and a hawk landed. And this is in the middle of the city, by the way,
Oh my
and
gosh.
landed on a fence and stared down at me. And it had half of an animal in its claw, stared at me, threw it towards me, and looked at me like, is that good enough for you? Okay, then, and flew off. And I was like, oh, snap. Okay, well, I forgot about the realms here. I forgot. Because I was so busy yelling at the other side. And
Yeah.
those beings, the earthly realms, will do that. I've had like crazy things like that happen with the
Hmm.
earth to remind me, like, pay attention to this world
Yeah.
and what you're doing. And don't forget, we have some power here. And I was like, okay, yes, sir. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. And they
That
will like humble you.
that island that I talked about, I have received the most, they're known for shape-shifting out there, which is a
Mm-hmm.
whole other subject, right? These people
Yes.
these people are shapeshifters for sure. And the animals there are too. And so, I've had some really powerful earth realm experiences on this
Mm-hmm.
island with, an owl following me in on my hike, an owl following me out on my hike. That owl showing up,
Mm.
that exact owl showing up hundreds of miles
Wow.
later and being like, is that the same owl? You
What?
So,
Wow.
they used to have this crow, Adi. She is her and Ormy used to have this owl, or not this owl, this raven. And this raven, there's this, they call it the temple of built by giants, because it's this, this is in the mountains near the shoreline of the island on the other
Mm-hmm.
side in Punta Treka. But they have there's these rocks that come from very far away. There's no other rocks like this in the area, and the
Okay.
only reference to them is like a long ways away, right? And
Mm-hmm.
these, um, stones are placed in this perfect, like, one person meditation temple on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And they go and they serve medicine there. And their raven would come and he would sit. I have pictures of this. He will come and sit on the corner of the temple. And when people go into medicine and their spirit flies, he'll go fly with them. And then he comes and lands back down. And then that's when the person comes to.
Wow.
So they have some really beautiful, guides that show up in those
Yeah.
spaces.
Yes. Yeah, you can't, and this is why they're aggressive with me, because I want to live in the other world, and they're always like, welcome back to, you have to be here. That I was going to ask you if you knew, because I've had like weird things with bugs a lot, that
Mm,
just show up at the weirdest, inopportune, not normal time.
mhm.
And I'm like, these things happen too much to me. So I know the earth realms beings tend to kind of get upset with me for like just dismissing them all the time.
Right, kind of like how I do the opposite with those, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Right,
"No,
right.
we kinda do it in different areas, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I've gotta
So,
reject someone, something.
yeah, because I'm always like, I'm doing enough, Mr. Like Hawk. Okay. Like, wow. Well,
I don't work
you
here.
rang. They're like, you rang. So yeah, I started to learn to be better at like, okay, I respect the power of the earth. I do have a ton of respect for the earth. That's the thing. Almost like too much so, where I'm like, okay, I get you have power. I'm not trying to challenge you, ocean. I'm not trying to challenge you, mountains. I have so much respect for you. But they're like, we want you to not just respect us. You need to like get to familiar, pay attention to this world. Because I
Yeah,
tend to not. Like, I literally will like be in a space, and then I go, wait a minute, where am I? Oh, oh, and that's not good. So I think those beings kind of, they
they
all
come and
work
poke
together.
at you.
They all work together, so
They
they do come
do.
to poke. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So I find that really interesting. But if I saw an owl, I would be so excited. I've never seen an owl.
really?
I never have.
So owls come to me, they're kind of like my totem, you would say. They come to
Okay.
me really frequently. So when I was pregnant with my daughter, when I got pregnant with my daughter, before I even knew I was pregnant, in fact, I had no logical idea that I was pregnant. This owl came and just landed right on a fence,
Mm.
and right as we were pulling up to it, and
Hmm.
it was a barn owl. It was beautiful. I was so close that I took a photo, and but the owl kind of telepathically told me, like, you're gonna have a baby.
Yeah, that's very, very connection to like the alien realm. You are pretty
I don't
tight.
know.
Pretty tight. We're pretty
You think the
tightly
owls
connected.
and aliens, they're together? I had no idea.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
really?
For sure. Yeah. See, I get crows all the time. All the time.
Mm.
Ravens and crows will just start talking to me. Before I used to do like seances or group readings for the spirit realm, I would get a flock of them just yelling at me. And I would go, I know, I'm going to talk to everybody. I know, because I know they're helping with the
Wow.
spirit world. But
Mhm.
yeah, owls, 100% in my being. And I know there's a lot of stuff out there that says this, but just intuitively, they're very like otherworldly, of those type of beings, because they
Interesting.
represent all the things to them, like the sight, seeing beyond this world, the wisdom, all of it, the kind of not like almost, they don't feel almost of this world
Mm.
in a sense. So yeah, I feel like that's much more connected. to that. It's interesting. You
Interesting.
see,
Well, see, and so I'm on the opposite. I love talking to you because I am on the opposite spectrum where, the spirit realm, I have respect for them. I'm like, hey, I respect you. You stay over there.
and I'm like, my friends. These are my friends.
And I kind of like, I don't really like, I don't have to go. I don't want to like hang out. I don't work there.
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
the earthly energies, I'm like totally just like, oh, yeah, what do you want to tell me? But I never really,
Yeah.
I guess when I think alien, I think from another planet, like life
Yeah.
sustained on another planet. So I never
Mm-hmm.
actually connected that. I mean, obviously, I
Interdimensional.
know they all work together, but I
Yeah.
never connected that there may be like human sustained life that are vehicles for aliens.
They're interdimensional. The ones that I tend to be more connected with, and they can turn themselves into a physical form if they need to be.
Wow,
But they're able to travel past time and space, so they're interdimensional. So they're connected to all of those things we're talking about.
interesting.
Yeah, they just do it in a very, they are very interested in healing, of us learning how to heal. That's what they always tell me. That's what they came to me once, and I rejected it. And then 10 seconds later, I broke my foot. They were like, "Don't you want?" And I never
I
broke
laugh, but
anything in
that's
my
not
life.
funny.
It's not funny. I never broke anything in my life. I never had any like severe pain like that. And I was well into my 30s, and I saw a being appear and said, "Do you want to learn about healing?" And I was like, I'm good. I've done enough. Thank you. I have a busy day." It's like, I'm okay. I don't want to get into this type of thing. And then I walked and I broke my foot severely, and I heard, "Well, what about now? Do you want to know how energy works?" And I was like, they weren't like the beings you're describing. They're very like about this world. Like, you guys need to hurry up and get on track with understanding the body and healing and work with the earth. And they're almost like the ones I saw are kind of like scientists in a way.
Mm,
And they
yeah,
kind of want to help us get in that. But they're interdimensional, and they do like to work with the, I call them earthly aliens. Earth
oh,
aliens.
interesting. Earthly aliens. I like that.
That's what I see them as.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
that's
different.
as I work with you more, which those of you who are listening and have not worked with Adela directly, I highly recommend.
Right back at you.
Yeah.
Same. We'll go at the end of how people can
Yeah.
locate you. Yeah.
But I have been learning, we get so used to as practitioners kind of operating with our own personalities
Mhm.
and with
Right,
our own
true.
preferences and with our own
Mhm.
biases even. And I've loved working with you because you do work from a completely opposite direction. And it's almost like if you're looking at a globe, I feel like you're seeing one side that I can't see that's in my blind spot, and it's been really
And
lovely
I
to
feel
kind of
like you're seeing, like, I can feel it from her. Like, you're seeing the world that is more puzzling to me. This world, the
yeah,
earthly world. And
yeah.
whenever I'm around Autumn, I feel like, I guess it's not so bad. It's
Well,
okay.
and that's where I'm like,
Like,
okay,
I'm
guys,
safe
I'll
here.
talk to you today. Adela coached me a little bit. I think I can talk to you today. What do
Like,
you
when
what do you
I
want with me?
and then, like, after I hang up here, I'm actually going to place to go to nature, because that's what my son likes to do.
Oh.
He's very earthy, of course,
Mm.
surprise, surprise. And he's very into nature, and he's very into all of that. And I was like, of course it's Autumn I'm talking to before I step into the earth, because it's not, when I look at you and I feel your energy, it feels like I see this world very different. It
Mhm.
doesn't look as scary and like confusing to me,
Mm.
because normally I'm like, everything's too scattery and weird, and in the other realm I totally get how everything works. So it's really
So
interesting.
interesting.
Isn't it trippy? It's like we're seeing through different binoculars or something,
Maybe
or
we're a paradox.
maybe we're like, la la la. Okay, everyone's like, what is Everyone's
W-
listening to us.
Well, um, we'll get a chance to play in your realm and my realm together next year in Hawaii, which is going to
Yeah.
be really interesting because I guess maybe if I help your blind spot disappear and you help my blind spot disappear, then who knows what's going to happen at that moment.
Oh, I know. I just got the chills. And I guess it's a way of announcing that we are planning. Well, Autumn is the helm of the planner, I should say, but I am jumping on board for a retreat in Hawaii at next year in April. So you need to stay tuned because if you want to travel both realms, uh,
Everyone's like, no, thanks. There.
I
No, just kidding.
I'm looking forward to understanding the earth. What better way to understand the earth? And Autumn doesn't know this, but I'm going to tell her this now. I have had a connection to Hawaii since I was a little kid, and
Mhm.
weirdly have never had a chance to get there. And I got married to someone who I'm no longer married to, and our honeymoon was to Hawaii. And suddenly, out of nowhere, all the flight we were booked on went to funk. The airline went to funk.
Weird.
And I was like, this is weird. It's like I'm not supposed to go there with this person for some reason because I
Wow.
kind of feel like it was before I had a kid. We might have stayed there or something, and maybe that would have been the wrong person to get. And I don't know. It was just so bizarre. It was 2 weeks before. And
Wow.
ever since then, then I had a kid and then life got away. And I'm like, this is kind of interesting because I kind of always visualize this. I used to say it and joke about it all the time that I'll do some works there one day, but I always kind of flippantly said it. So I just thought it was interesting because I know there's an earth thing energy there
Oh,
that I'm not
it's
familiar
real.
with. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I had this the
maybe I just
sanctuary.
needed the right guide.
Yeah,
Seriously, I'm
the
serious.
sanctuary is beautiful and it, like you can eat avocados off the tree, you can, pick fresh guavas, limes. It's beautiful in that way and it is very like an earth sanctuary to do spiritual work. So
And
it's
also the land just I know it
yes.
has a vibration. Yeah.
People say that she either spits you out or chews you up and swallows you,
Interesting.
And I
Interesting.
experienced that when I got there. The land is very loud. So different lands that I work on, lands have spirit just like medicines, just like ancestors, right?
Mhm.
And some lands are very sick. They're, decrepit.
True.
They need you to bring joy there. Other
Mhm.
lands are kind of like holding trauma, just like our bodies hold trauma.
Yeah.
Some lands are like, we want to party. So every land speaks to me differently. And when I went to this land specifically, I had this intention of like, oh, I'm in Hawaii for a week. I'm just going to rest and restore, catch up on work. I was there with
Mhm.
my two main business partners, my husband and our partner, and it was just like we had this intention like, oh yeah, we're gonna brainstorm, we're gonna like spend time together, we're gonna really like just sink into this big project that we're doing. And the land was like, that's funny, you think you're in charge. And I could not do anything. I could not
Mm.
do anything. Every time I went to open my computer, I just got this like heavy, lethargic, like I couldn't, anytime I tried to call someone, anytime I tried to do anything that wasn't
Mhm.
just sit and listen to the land,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like a no. And then I had to really surrender to resting. And once I surrendered to resting, then the land charged me.
Okay.
So it was just a very loud, like, no, you're going to come here and you're going to tune in with me. And
Mhm.
then you can do what you want to do. So the land is very like, you're going to respect me. You're going to tune in with me. You're going to give me what I want. You're going to surrender. And then you can stay here. But I think when people go there and they don't get the whole, oh, I have to surrender to this, like my body's tired, I need to rest, or
Yeah.
this is what's coming up when people can't surrender to that. I think she's really hard on you. And I experienced that for like 3 days where I was like, what is happening? What is this? Like, what am I supposed to do? And the land was just like, nothing. Let me heal you.
I do totally makes sense to me because I absolutely believe places have a vibration and an energy, and if you flow with it, you will get a whole different experience than when you have a plan.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah. So it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
Th- this has been so awesome. I'm so glad
Yay!
I was brilliant enough to think of it, although I don't think it was me. So that's why I'm saying it sarcastically. Something came to me and was like, you got to have her on. I'm like, oh, okay, I hear you guys. Cool, cool. Got it. Got the
Perfect
message. I'll do
timing.
it. Yeah, I got it. I heard them. But let's tell everybody where they can find all of your works and what you do and where to follow you and all that jazz.
Yeah, so you can follow me. Instagram is where I'm most active. It's Pachamama Medicine underscore. So just Earth Medicine underscore Pachamama being Earth. And then our website is rabbithole.love. This is where you can click on a facilitator link to schedule a discovery call with me or Tyson or any of our practitioners. It's where you can find all of our products and wellness tools. And as we offer retreats and events and workshops, and we do travel, we go to Hawaii, Mexico. We have some partners in New Mexico, Arizona, different parts of Mexico even. So wherever you are, we might be coming near you. So keep track of the rabbit hole. And then if you want to follow Rabbit Hole on Instagram, it's just Rabbit Hole Wellness.
Mm-hmm. And I'll put to everybody. I'll put her information in there so you can just click on. I want to give a shout out to Renee. For those of you who don't know Renee, she's the quiet person in the background for me. She does all my posters for this podcast. She did the cover of my book, Peering into the Narrow Room, that's on Amazon. She's very humble and amazing artist, and
She
that's
did
how I
this
met
mug.
Autumn. She did this book. Yeah, she's just like I used to have her painting here, but now I have it where I can stare at it. She's she's a connector for sure. She's always connecting everybody. And I'll put her link as well. I talk about her a lot. And she introduced me to Autumn. So
Mhm.
shout out to Renee.
Yes, thank you, Renee. We love
Ren
you.
Photo on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been so awesome.
Yes, thanks for
And
having me.
I'm going to be totally thinking about you as I'm walking through nature, doing a little
Yay!
nature walk. We'll
Well,
see
as
what
I'm
happens.
practicing flying, I'm always in gratitude to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited. All right. Well, have a great rest of the day. Thanks for
You
coming
too.
on. All right.
Till next
Bye.
time.